everybody. It's Margie Meach, and welcome back for another edition of the Learning to Go podcast. And today, I'm really excited to be talking again to Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. He has been a very generous supporter of our efforts here. He was our keynote speaker at last year's Brain Matters online conference, and a big reason that our first conference ever was so well attended and a nice big success. And he's also been on the podcast program before. And he probably doesn't need any introduction, but just in case, let me just run over a few things about him. Dr. Goldsmith has been recognized as one of the top 10 most influential thinkers in the world and the number one coach in the world. He's the author of 35 books, which have sold over 2 million copies. They've been translated into 30 languages, and they've been bestsellers in 12 countries or more. His newest book is Triggers, Creating Behavior at Last, Becoming the Person You Want to Be. And that is a very wonderful book. I highly recommend it. It not only will help you in your business life, but it focuses more generally on any part of your life that you might want to improve using the neuroscience behind triggers. So with that, welcome, Dr. Goldsmith. You've been recognized.
Yeah. Hello, it's great to hear from you.
Hey, yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us. Where are you joining us from today?
Today I'm in Rancho Santa Fe, California, which is just north of San Diego.
Oh, I was just in San Diego yesterday. In fact, we crossed paths.
Beautiful place.
Yes, it is. So, Marshall, you've been recognized as one of those most influential thinkers in the world. And so when you recently offered to teach 15 people everything you know, that's getting a lot of attention, just in case someone hasn't heard about it yet. Can you tell us about this 15 coaches program?
Well, I'll give you the background. Years ago, I was doing coaching for the CEO of a furniture company called Herman Miller. It's one of the world's largest furniture companies, and the CEO is Brian Walker. He had me interview a designer. Her name is Ayşe Birsel from Turkey, a wonderful woman. So after interviewing her as one of his key stakeholders, we became buddies. So we've known each other for 20 years. So she wrote a book called Design the Life That You Love. So I brought about 50 people with me, and we went to her program. As part of the program, she said, write down the names of your heroes. And you write down these people who are your heroes, and you write, why are they your heroes? Then after that, you said, okay, she said, cross out their name and write in your name. Well, as it turned out, because she said if those people are your heroes and you respect what they do, why don't you act more like them? Well, my heroes all turned out to be teachers. They were people who taught me so much. Peter Drucker, Alan Mulally, Francis Hesselbein, Paul Hersey, wonderful teachers, and none of them ever charged me any money. And I thought, they're very generous teachers. Why aren't you more of a very generous teacher? I thought I should be more like them. So what I decided to do is I'm going to adopt 15 people, and I'm going to teach them everything I know for free. And they get to go to, probably 6 or 8 days of training. They get to meet all my CEO clients. Just my friend Alan Mulally, who's one of my heroes, is former CEO of Ford. To listen to him give a keynote speech costs $150,000. He's going to spend 6 hours with these 15 people trying to help them. Just a wonderful opportunity, and it's all free. And the only price is when they get old, they need to do the same thing, pay it forward. So that's the idea. It's very exciting. So far, we have over 8,000 applicants.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm sure you're going to have more before it's done. Now, there's a deadline for applying, right?
October 15th.
Okay. And just so that everyone is clear, we're going to put up on our website the link to where they go to apply. But can you also give us that website address?
Yeah, go to my website, www.myname, Marshall, Marshall, Goldsmith, Goldsmith.com. You can apply there. You can apply if you're a coach who's part of the WBECS coaching process. You can apply through them. Inc. Magazine is sponsoring this. You can apply through Inc. Magazine as well. So, you got a few places that you could send in an application. But the easiest one is just go to my website.
Okay, great. Now, why 15? Is there a thought process behind coming up with that number?
Well, I do all these dinners with my clients, and I have, and the thing I've learned is to have a great dinner, everyone needs to be able to sit at the same table. And so 15 is kind of a good number for, you can have one table, you could have me, you could have a couple of other people who are thought leaders. So we keep it under 20 so we can all have dinner together, we can sit at the same table, we can all talk. So a nice small number. Everyone who applies, I'm going to invite to free webinars and things like that, and I give away all my content. If you go to my website, I've got hundreds of videos for free online and all kinds of articles. But 15 for more personal attention to me seemed to be a good number. Nothing magic about 15, but it seemed to be about right.
Yeah, it does. So in all the research you've been doing, are there recognizing that not everyone who listens to this is either going to get into that 15, or maybe they won't choose to apply, but they're still interested in coaching. Are there some things that you have recognized in all your research that you could summarize as what makes a great coach versus just an average coach?
Well, to me, the most successful variable in coaching is not the coach. It's the person being coached.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's very interesting because in my job as a coach, I don't get paid if my clients don't get better. Better is not judged by me or them. It's judged by everyone around them. So, and there's a great way to test if someone believes what they're saying. You can ask a person one question and instantly determine their level of belief. The question is, do you want to bet on it? They say, I believe it, but I wouldn't bet on it. They don't believe it. If they say, here's the money, they believe it. I bet on this every time. Well, when you get paid for results, you learn humility. The client I coached that I spent the most amount of time with didn't improve at all, and I didn't get paid. The client I coached I spent the least amount of time with improved more than anyone I've ever coached. 200 people got better, and I did get paid. Very humbling lesson. I made a little chart. On one dimension was called time spent with Marshall Goldsmith. The other dimension was called improvement. There seemed to be a clear negative correlation between spending time with me and getting better. So I thought that's troubling. I go talk to my client who improved the most, who's my friend Alan Mulally. Alan was the CEO of Ford, CEO of the Year in the United States, totally turned the company around, ranked number 3 greatest leader in the world behind the Pope and Angela Merkel in 2014. So I say to Alan, Alan, of all the people I coached, you improved the most. You're great to start with. I showed him my chart. I said, Alan, the way this chart looks, you never met me, you'd really be good. So I said, what should I learn about coaching from you? He taught me 2 great lessons. He said, your biggest challenge as a coach is called customer selection. Pick the right customer, your process always works. Pick the wrong customer, it's never going to work. And he said, don't make coaching about yourself and your own ego and how smart you think you are. Make it about the great people you work with, how hard they work, and how proud you are of them. Well, most of us never deeply understand these points. We get so wrapped up in thinking it's all about us that we forget that the key variable for successful change is not us, it's the people we're working with. When I coach people now, the first thing I tell them is I don't get paid if you don't get better, and I don't get paid because I'm a good coach. I get paid because you're a good customer. Don't make it all about me. The second the client makes it all about the coach, it's just a coach critique. They just sit there and critique the coach.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting better because they critique the coach. They get better because they do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings another question to my mind. Have you ever sort of fired a client? Have you recognized that someone just really isn't committed and decided that you can't work with them?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah, because it would make sense based on what you were saying. So when people are, this is something that I hear a lot when people are talking about the different ways that someone can change their behavior. People can sometimes kind of misunderstand or mix up the difference between a coach, a trainer, a consultant, a mentor. and some people tend to use those words almost interchangeably. And I would bet that you probably can draw some distinctions between them. So, is there a difference between, say, being a coach and a trainer or a mentor?
Well, I'm a believer in something called operational definitions. My old mentor, Dr. Paul Hersey, taught me that, operational definitions. What he said is, rather than get into semantic arguments of, leadership is this or that, or a coach does this or that, define what it means for you, and then go with that. Therefore, you're not saying it's the definition or the only
Hmm.
definition. It's what it means for you. Now, my mission is I help successful leaders achieve positive long-term change in behavior. That's what I do. For me, you could call that coaching. Other people could do very different things like strategy, and that's fine. That's just not what I do. So I think, let people make operational definitions, and then that way you know what they're talking about. And don't get into semantic arguments saying this person is right or wrong. Just saying in this person's mind, this is the way they define the word coaching. Another person defines the word coaching in a different way. It doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It just means they have a different definition.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, thank you for that. That makes perfect sense. And again, it goes back to
Saves a
that.
lot of arguing. Saves a lot of
Yeah.
arguing.
Yeah. And it goes back to that. It really is about them and about what they expect and what they're willing to put into it. So working with their definition is really where you want to be anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, Dr. Goldsmith, for being with us today. Everyone, you've been listening to one of the top thinkers in the world, the top-ranked executive coach, great selling author, speaker, and coach himself, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. And if you are listening to this before October 15th, 2016, do not miss the opportunity to consider applying for his 15 Coaches program. The deadline is October 15th, and we have a link on our site so that you can get more information there and apply. There's many ways to apply, as Marshall said, on this program. So, Marshall, any final thoughts about what would you say to someone if they're kind of excited about what you just described in the 15 coaches, but they are wondering whether or not they have an opportunity, whether or not they really could qualify for it? What would you say to?
I would go ahead and apply, because everyone who applies is going to be put on a list. I'm going to do free webinars next year, and the invitees will be all the people who apply. So even if they don't become one of the 15 coaches, they'll be on the webinar list and get access to materials, webinars, all kinds of other stuff. So, and what's the downside? There's
Right.
no downside. Go for it. Why not?
Absolutely. And I think on that note, we are going to say goodbye. You've been listening to Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. You heard it, everybody. Go for it. Thank you very much for joining us today, Marshall.
Thank you.